Welcome back to the Faith Driven Entrepreneur video series. It's awesome to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about excellence, how it's incredibly important that we do our work really, really well because there are going to be a lot of people watching us. But first, a great video from one of my favorite Faith Driven entrepreneurs, Don Flo. Watch with me, please.
When I first came out of college, my dad asked me if I wanted to consider coming back with him in a Volkswagen dealership we owned. And I told him that I first wanted to go to graduate school in theology because I wanted to ground my faith much more biblically and theologically as I went forward. And then that I wanted to do every job in a dealership and I would get paid just like it. I remember working as a technician. And I'd been a really good student along the way, and I was a very average technician. And I remember struggling, and one time I'm working on this exhaust manifold, intake manifold, and I get rust in my eyes, it's burning up hot, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I could be in graduate school right now. I could have gone here. I'm doing this right now. But my idea was I want to actually experience the struggles everybody went through when they did their jobs. I did that for 4 years. And then I went back to graduate business school. I began to develop kind of some basic premise, and one of them was that what space had God given me to have influence? What does it mean for me to actually live love in that setting? And what does it mean to actually bring hope to these people's lives and encourage them as people?
You can be in the car business a lot of places, but if you want to do it differently and better, and you want to provide a very, very different experience for people, this is about the only place you can do that.
Everything that we do is about building trust with our customers, and I think Don has done a good job of instilling that in his management and his leaders in the company, how we take care of our customers, how we take care of each other as employees, and also how we look to serve the community that we live and work in.
This is, for a lot of people, the second most, and for some people, the most expensive purchase they're ever going to make. So to me, what's different about that is that we care that we're going to affect their whole life if we do this wrong.
If we looked in terms of biblical language and said, what do we want to be about? How does that give expression to what we're trying to do now in terms of what would be animating the culture, our ethos inside our business? We said the first thing has to be trust. And to be a person that our organization is trustworthy, we have to ask, what does that actually mean? If you came in for service, what would that look like? If you came in and bought a car from us, what would that look like? And we deconstructed everything we did in the business, everything all the way. So you entrust your car to us, and you're at a really disadvantage. You don't know anything about cars, and you can't get around if you don't have a car. So it's pretty easy for somebody to take advantage of somebody else. What would that look like for us to say that could never happen here? And we came out and said, we can only give you one estimate. And so we came back with more than we had to basically eat that. It means that if we didn't fix it right the first time, you never paid again. It meant that you couldn't be inconvenienced. We'd go pick up your car and bring it back to you. And the price that we quoted would never be more than that, no matter what. No matter if we made a mistake or not, it'd be done one time.
Some of the things that people experience out in the industry is just the hiding of information.
We do the opposite. We want to tell them every single thing. So us being profitable is not about us having more information than the customer. It's about us giving value and providing a really, really fantastic service for people, not only when they buy their car, but long after when they service their car.
If negotiation is basically based on asymmetrical knowledge, in the sense that I know something you don't know and I can use that against you, then we can't do that anymore. So we changed the whole way cars were priced, how we came to market. Instead of starting at the top and negotiating down prices, we came right up front with the price. You look at the way we appraise cars too. We went to the open books. You can see how we arrived at the price. In the financing world, long before there were caps on financing, we said we have to cap it. Doesn't make any difference what the law is. We have to cap it because we said your ability to negotiate should not determine the price you pay. It should be the same offer everybody gets. Warranties on our used cars, we put a 100,000-mile warranty on a used car. So we have to figure out how to manage that cost. So that meant we had to get better reconditioning. So we developed very detailed process so we knew with confidence the car would really last. And then we put a money back guarantee because we said that's what you would do for your neighbor. You'd be able to offer something back again. And people said, I must be crazy. They do all that. They said, well, if I said I was really going to treat a person like my neighbor or like a guest in my home, that's what I would do. So why aren't we doing that? How do we kind of re-engage in the trust relationships? Trust has underneath it keeping your promises, always, regardless of the cost. It means that you would never advantage yourself to the disadvantage of another. It means there can never be any language that's manipulative, deceptive, or puts you at a disadvantage. If you said, you can make $1 trillion, but we can't treat people like this anymore, or we can't treat customers like that, so I just don't want to make it. That's not success for us. Success has to begin in terms of we can be trusted to always do the right thing for our customer. A place that a person comes to work, they invest their scarce labor capital with me, and they get a full return for their life for having done so. And we have a place that our communities, that we really enhance the communities we're in, that we are a place that if we didn't exist, people wish we were there. Faith is something we actually exercise. It's not an abstract concept. And so how do we actually exercise faith? And love is something we actually live. It's not an abstraction, all right, but it's actually a lived movement in life. And hope is something we actually bring in our very presence. And so we want to connect those to people's lives and say, how do we help this be a place that's worth believing in? How is this a place where you believe you make a contribution and you make a difference in what you do? And how can this be a place where you feel connected as a human being?
The Christian philosopher Francis Schaeffer once said that our opportunity to be heard by the lost world would be directly related to how well we do our work. You know, many people don't think about the connection between excellent work and our witness, but I can guarantee you that non-Christians see it. The Apostle Peter said in his letter, 1 Peter, that we ought to live our lives in such a way that people ask about our motivations. What is it that drives us to such excellence in our work, such high standards in our ethical dealings, even if nobody else is watching? Listen, if your witness was the only reason to pursue your business with excellence, it would be worth it. But here's the thing. External witness is not the only reason. There's an even greater reason to pursue excellence in our work. In Colossians 3:23 and 24, the Apostle Paul writes, whatever you do, you should do it from the heart. It's something done for the Lord and not just for people, knowing that you will receive the reward of an inheritance from the Lord himself, because you don't just serve your boss. You don't just serve your customers. You serve the Lord Christ. If our work is done for the Lord, then it should be done according to the highest standards of excellence, right? I mean, our work by itself, Paul says, is an offering to God, even if it doesn't have Bible verses or Christian slogans attached to it. Just think on that. Your work is like an offering that you are going to present at the throne of God. Is the quality of your work befitting of the majesty of God? Would you be embarrassed to lay down your work at God's feet? Does the excellence of your work point people to the excellence of God? I know a few business people in our community who say that they actually don't like partnering with Christian businesses because those businesses aren't reliable. They don't honor deadlines, as if Christian grace demands the excusing of sloppiness or a lack of professionalism. I'll just tell you, that is flat out wrong. That is not a Christian approach to work in the business. Christian entrepreneurs ought to be producing something of quality and reliability that points people to the goodness and excellence of God. Christian entrepreneurs ought to pursue excellence in their businesses, not simply because they want to increase their bottom line, but because what they do is first and foremost an offering to Christ. Because we report to a higher authority, we seek to serve him with the highest quality work possible. Think about it. Can't we safely assume that no wobbly chairs came out of the carpenter shop in Nazareth? Before Jesus preached the kingdom to the glory of God on a hillside, he made chairs to the glory of God in a carpenter shop. So we've got to follow the example of our Savior and seek excellence in every aspect of our entrepreneurial journey. Knowing that our business endeavors are primarily for God also is going to add new significance to what we do, especially during the difficult season. When you know that God is watching, it changes your approach to those periods in business or your enterprise when it feels like nobody else is. Whether everyone is praising you for a brand new initiative or you're struggling to get your first investor, you know that you're working first and foremost for Christ, and he's always the same and he always deserves your best. C.S. Lewis, the Oxford Don and Christian philosopher, once noted how explorers going into the New World would sometimes lay their eyes on a valley that they assumed no human eyes had ever beheld before. and they would see that it was filled with all these incredible, stunning flowers and natural beauty that they assumed nobody had ever seen. And Lewis said that meant for years and years, these valleys flourished in beauty with no human eyes to behold that beauty. Was that beauty wasted, Lewis asked? Well, no, C.S. Lewis said, because God does some things for his own pleasure, and God sees even when nobody else does. Well, see, the same is true of our work. Whether anybody sees it or not, God sees it, even when nobody else does. For many of you as entrepreneurs and business owners, you have a unique opportunity not only to display excellence, but you can also help cultivate a culture of excellence, which in and of itself glorifies God. Every decision you make is going to impact an entire range of people. It's going to impact your investors, your customers, your employees, just to name a few. Are you going to make decisions that take care of them or ones that just benefit you? Doing excellent work is a way of serving and loving all the people impacted by what you are creating. And what you do as the entrepreneur, you multiply in the lives of those around you. You know this, that the kind of business you run, the kind of work that you do is going to impact how people learn to do business and how they learn to think. It's going to create a culture that's going to impact not just their work lives, but all of their lives, their personal lives. You get the unique opportunities to set that tone in your organization. So which one are you going to set? Is it going to be one that's marked by a ruthless pursuit of the bottom line? Or is it going to be one marked by good enough work? Or is it going to be one viewed as a service to others where excellence is both modeled, encouraged, and celebrated as an offering to God? Excellence doesn't just happen, you know that. Excellence is, in the words of Eugene Peterson, the result of a long obedience in the same direction. But it gets easier when we see the bigger purpose, and that is that our excellence serves those around us and glorifies the God who is above us. What this means is that a Christian's excellent work helps to bring God's presence to the world. God is active through a person's work to ensure that families are fed, that homes are built, and that justice is carried out. Too many Christians begrudge their work when they ought to revel in the fact that God is using them in whatever small way to fulfill his purposes on earth. Is that how you see your work?